And good morning. Welcome to the show. So glad that you are spending some time with us this morning. We got a packed couple of hours ahead. I'm going to touch on some pretty big issues and have some fun at the same time. We're going to start with a conversation that quite literally can save lives. The 988 Suicide Crisis Helpline has been in place for just over 3 years now, and the federal government has announced significant investment in this service. So we'll go over why it matters, how this is working, and what this recent federal investment will mean. Later on in the show, we're going to turn our attention to Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Now, cervical cancer is one of the most preventable forms of cancer. Experts say it could be eliminated as a public health problem by 2040. That's a pretty bold goal, so we're going to dig into what that takes or what it will take to reach that goal. And we'll have a chat with the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer to talk about screening and vaccines and why the progress may have slowed in some areas. A little after 10:30. It's all about small business. Now, Parliament, as it returns to Ottawa after the Christmas break, organizations like the Canadian Federation of Independent Business are calling on 2026 to be the year of the entrepreneur. What does that mean? Well, rising costs, labor shortages, red tape, property taxes, all continuing to squeeze small business firms, especially here in Atlantic Canada. So we'll go to the CFIB and ask what small businesses are asking for from the government. At 11 o'clock, your turn. We are going to open up the phone lines. The open hour is yours. There was a massive hockey tournament in Cape Breton, coyote sightings throughout the province, job losses, the economy, global politics, whatever is on your mind. This is the time when you will take the wheel. And wrapping up at noon with the Science Files with Dr. Rob Thacker from St. Mary's University. From fusion energy to northern lights to space travel, medical breakthroughs. I'm going to take your science questions and, explore a little about what's happening at the cutting edge of discovery. All right, full show ahead, but first up, we're going to talk about a service that has become a lifeline for people across Canada in moments of deep crisis. The 988 Suicide Crisis Helpline. Now, it's a 3-digit number. It was launched to make suicide prevention support easier to access. It's bilingual, trauma-informed, and available 24/7. And to join us to talk about how it is going to be strengthened through renewed federal funding, Starr Cunningham. Starr is CEO of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. She's here to talk about what this is going to mean for communities in the province and right across the country. Starr, good morning and welcome to the show. So glad to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here and to hear you back on the airwaves again.
It's fun to be doing this again. So listen, for viewers who might not be familiar with 988, can you briefly explain what the Suicide Crisis Helpline is and who it's designed to help?
Sure thing. So 988 is for anyone across the country who's experiencing a suicide crisis. So if you're in trouble, if someone you love is in trouble, you call 988 and you have access to bilingual, trauma-informed suicide prevention support. It's 24/7, 365. So that's key because we know that people need help at all times of the day, every day.
Mm. And now the federal government just announced over $120 million in renewed support. And that will sustain 988's operations for the next 2 years. What does this investment mean for folks who rely on this service?
Yeah, sorry about that. This investment is huge. It speaks to the need across the country and across our province here in Nova Scotia. And it speaks to the fact that there are more people who need information, need help, and need support in their communities.
Yeah, I mean, this is still a topic that is not spoken of openly in public often, and this certainly gives people the opportunity to to check in with mental health providers just at those times when you really need help.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we always advise people to call 911 as well or go to their nearest emergency department. But 988 is a wonderful addition to the list of resources, as well as the mental health crisis line, which operates in the province too.
Yeah. So now, from your perspective in Nova Scotia, have you seen any differences in terms of, access to services or outcomes since 988 has become available nationally?
I think what we've seen is people who are reaching out to us, we provide them with 988 with the information, and they get directed where they need to get directed to the help that they require. Before 988, it was often more difficult to get, the one number, one way to get assistance when you need it to people. So we certainly pass along the number whenever we can, and we know that people use it, and we want people to start using it more often, because the big thing about a suicide crisis, Lisa, is what's a crisis for you may not be a crisis for someone else. So it's really when you feel you need the support, when you're at a point where you can't see a way out and you feel, I really need to talk to someone, call this number.
Mm. And now one of the features of 988 is its ability to provide culturally appropriate support. How important is that for Indigenous communities, youth, or people in rural areas?
Mm-hmm. It's vitally important. We know that we provide a community grant to Nova Scotians to provide them with mental health and wellness in the workplace training, and we also provide funding for ASSIST training, applied suicide intervention skills. And what we know is that culturally defined communities are looking for training that is relevant to their populations. And we've seen that increase, and we know how important it is. So we have definitely taken note of that.
And so, and I guess, that care will look very different if you do, if you are a member of the Indigenous community or a youth. I mean, we've got the youth helpline, but 988 is available as well for teens.
Mm-hmm. And the more resources we can put in the back pockets of people, the better. When you talk about youth, it makes me think of 2S LGBTQIA+, because we know that population it has a higher suicide rate. So the way they want to talk about suicide, as it applies to the way they feel in society, would be unique compared to someone who isn't part of that community.
Yeah.
So it really is key to speak the language of the people that you're trying to connect with.
Oh, and that's another piece of it too. So 988 has service available in various languages?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Excellent. Well, that is extremely important. What do you work with the federal government on creating supports locally for 988, or is this strictly a federal endeavor?
Strictly a federal endeavor. What we do is we work closely with our communities across Nova Scotia. So the foundation exists to raise money and to improve the mental wellness of Nova Scotians by granting funds to those grassroots community-based mental health and addictions organizations across the province. And what I can tell you is based on our grants that we funded last year, we funded 158 projects, and 15 of them, or just about 10%, selected suicide prevention as the impact area, and that tells a story right there that suicide prevention programming and projects are top of mind for people who are running our mental health and addictions community-based organizations and people who are looking for services. Yeah,
and now I know that you're not with the 988 service, but do you know what people can expect when they call that number?
People will speak to someone live, and that is the key for people to have someone that they can talk to. Quite often it's just hearing that voice on the other end of the phone and knowing someone's there, and then they will be triaged and transferred or put in touch with resources in their area.
Excellent, excellent. Listen, that is all great news to have, great information to have. I want to ask you about something that you're doing over there at the Mental Health Foundation. You've introduced a new program with Karen Veinotte called
Oh boy, have we ever.
Body Movin'. Now, she is a firecracker. Tell me a little bit about how this got started.
Oh, she is just wonderful. We couldn't ask for a better body movement ambassador than Karen Veinotte. So last year we launched our inaugural campaign, and it's a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign online that's really designed just to get people moving their body in any way. You do not have to train for a marathon. You don't have to be able to cycle 100K. You can dance in your kitchen. You can make snow angels in the snow. You can take the dog for a walk. That's one of my favorites. And we ask people to get active for the month of February, to register a team, and fundraise for the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia while they're doing it. And we reached out to Karen because, well, you can't think of motion and movement and physical activity without thinking of her incredible success as an Olympian. And Karen went through a spell 2 years ago where she struggled quite severely with mental illness.
Yeah.
And she found that, the one thing that kept her going and that she could focus on is just movement and putting one foot in front of the other and walking. And she is just sharing her story so openly and honestly and courageously to inspire others to get moving and to raise funds for critical support across the province.
Well, and I guess that is vitally important as well, because when you listen to Karen's story, you realize, hey, that could be me. And when you see somebody like Karen, working and struggling with mental well-being, it sort of gives others hope, I think.
It does. And, you say that could be me when you hear Karen's story. That could be me when you hear any story.
Yep.
I think what it says is no one is immune. Mental illness and addiction does not discriminate. So it's all ages, all stages, and it doesn't matter your socioeconomic, level. It doesn't matter about your education. It doesn't matter about, your athleticism. It can hit anyone at any time, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to have programs in place in our communities and across our cities to be ready to help people when they need the help.
Yeah. And, and of course, the connection between mental health and exercise. That's the key right there.
Scientifically proven. If doctors could write prescriptions that said, move your body more, I think people would feel a lot better. And I know I live with mental illness, Lisa, and for me, physical activity is key. And my physical activity is best when I spend it outdoors, if I can get outside in nature.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to get across to people too. Take a break from the screens. Get outside, take a walk. It's not just about the physical activity either. It's about the social connection, those things that are so vitally important for our mental wellness. So we're encouraging everyone across the province to hop online. Our website's mentalhealthns.ca. You can click on our Body Moving link and get registered as a team or an individual. Have some fun, inspire others, and help us raise some much-needed funding.
Excellent. Do you have a goal for this fundraiser, or just leaving it open-ended?
We're hoping to raise $100,000. So our goal is lofty, $100,000. We do community grants up to $25,000, and we do a heck of a lot of them. So hitting a goal of $100,000 would allow for 4 full community grants to be awarded. Or smaller ones too, because some of the grants we give are for as little as $5,000.
Okay,
and they really make a difference.
Cool. Now, what kind of projects are you funding with these grants?
Oh, boy, we're funding everything. So suicide prevention, which, of course, is what we're talking about today. We're funding mental health literacy, which is key, peer support programming, and really community and connection. So we're connecting people in their communities to things that provide them with a sense of belonging and connection that hopefully will keep them from needing to call 988 in the first place.
Excellent.
And alleviate stress on the system. So it's all about listening to our communities and not telling them what they need, asking them, what do you need? And we get that every time we receive a grant application. It's a story of what's needed in the community.
Starr Cunningham, CEO of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and really appreciate your time and your insight.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Get your body moving.
All right, I will.
Okay.
20 minutes a day, whether I like it or not.
There you go.
Take care.
You too.
All righty. It is 10:15, and we're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And 10:18 is the time. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. Guest host Dan Alstrand will be back on Monday, but in the meantime, still plenty of conversations to have. And January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month in Canada, a time to raise awareness about a disease that's both highly preventable and treatable, but yet it still affects thousands of people every year. Well, thanks to proven tools like the HPV vaccine and other advances in screening, cancer experts say it is possible for Canada to eliminate cervical cancer as a public health problem by 2040. Well, achieving that goal is going to require some coordinated action and collaboration across health systems. And to lead those efforts on the national stage, Dr. Craig Earle, CEO of the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer, and Dr. Earle is joining us today to talk about where we stand and what does progress look like. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Lisa.
So listen, to start us off, can you explain what the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer is? How did this form and what role does it currently play in Canada's cancer control efforts?
Sure. Well, of course, in Canada, healthcare is a provincial jurisdiction. We're funded by the federal government to work with partners across Canada, including the cancer agencies, ministries of health, but also cancer societies, Indigenous organizations, to try to advance pan-Canadian priorities in cancer control. And we identify those priorities by co-creating strategies with those partners. So with the provinces, identifying things like the elimination of cervical cancer or getting lung cancer screening programs up and running, and then trying to help the jurisdictions move forward on those so that, every province doesn't have to figure it out on their own. We can learn from each other and get some efficiencies and economies of scale as we tackle these very important problems in cancer.
So January marks Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Why is it important to continue to shine a spotlight on cervical cancer if it's pretty much, we've got it under control, or so it would seem?
I wish. So, as you pointed out in the introduction, it is possible to eliminate it. And so I'll just back up and say that pretty much all cases of cervical cancer are caused by chronic infection with the HPV virus. And so what that means is that if you can control that virus, you can actually you can control the disease. And by control, it means through vaccination, through screening, through ensuring proper follow-up and treatment. And so there's actually been a worldwide call to eliminate cervical cancer, and the Canadian government has signed on to that with a target of eliminating cervical cancer by 2040. And so we, working with partners, have put together an action plan to move this forward through the vaccination, through changes in screening. But even though there's been tons of progress made in cervical cancer over the decades, in fact, incidence rates were falling for many, many decades. What we've learned recently is that there has been some plateau in those advances, and maybe even some increase in rates. If we look in the period around 2015 to 2019, it always takes a few years lag time to get these sorts of data. But we're starting to see a bit of a plateau and maybe a slight increase in the incidence of cervical cancer, which makes it all the more important for us to double down on vaccination, screening, et cetera, to try to eliminate this cancer.
So now, can you break down what elimination means in practical terms? I mean, what are some of the key strategies that are part of the action plan? What does elimination look like? So
vaccination is key, and in particular, that means vaccinating 12-year-olds. The idea is because the HPV virus is transmitted sexually, it's to vaccinate children before what's called their sexual debut. And this has been incredibly effective. And I'll point to, in particular, a report that came out of Scotland showing that of the 40,000 young women who had been vaccinated at the ages of 12 to 13 since 2008, there was not a single case of cervical cancer. And that even if they only had one dose of the vaccine, and the effects were most particularly seen in the most deprived areas, so great effect on equity. So vaccinating children young, very, very important. Now, there's still a benefit to vaccinating people when they're older. So, for example, from that report in Scotland, if you vaccinate older teenagers or young women, it still reduces the rates of cervical cancer by more than half. But it's the earlier the better on vaccination.
So now, when it comes to the vaccination, how come it's not done on older women, older people? Prime example, and I'll use myself. 57-year-old female had cervical dysplasia twice. But never, vaccinated for HPV. Is the vaccination not effective on older people?
It's more that it's less effective. So the biggest bang for the buck is in vaccinating younger children. And so that's why every province has taken a slightly different approach to this. And in terms of who is eligible, all will vaccinate younger children, and then varying degrees of older. And the reason is you can have the HPV virus, you can clear it, but then you could be reinfected, and so there can still be some effectiveness. So the public funding varies a bit throughout the country. And one of the approaches to trying to deal with this issue is to consider expanding the eligibility. The vaccine isn't cheap. It costs about $200 for a dose.
Oh, wow.
The good news is it used to be initially a requirement. We thought you had to have 3 doses and then 2. And now it's become very clear that 1 dose is sufficient, but it still is, out of pocket. If you're paying for it, it's, not free necessarily.
And the actual test for cervical cancer has changed or is changing, correct? I mean, once upon a time, I'm of a certain vintage when, the Pap smear was the one and only opportunity to test, but that has changed.
Yes, and so the Pap test is still, a great test and has, saved countless lives. But now with our understanding about the HPV virus, it's the opportunity to test for HPV rather than Pap. And so what Pap test is it requires an internal exam. They scrape some cells off the cervix and then look to see if those cells are abnormal. You mentioned dysplasia, if they're precancerous. The beauty of the HPV, or the several advantages of the HPV test, is that it's actually detecting the chronic infection with HPV before you even get changes in the cells. So it can identify the risk of cervical cancer earlier and thereby prevent more cancers. But another big advantage of it is that it is essentially done with a long Q-tip. So it's clearly more comfortable for women, more acceptable for many groups for whom an internal exam may be problematic, and it opens up the opportunity for self-collection. So there have been studies that have shown clearly that women are able to do this test on their own without necessarily needing to go to a doctor. And so that really opens up benefits if we think of equity types of issues. First of all, if you don't have a family doctor, or if you live in a remote community, or as I mentioned, if you're from a cultural group for whom an internal examination might be problematic, or people who have suffered sexual trauma, this sort of test is much more acceptable, and so screening rates can go up.
All right. Thank you so very much. Dr. Craig Earle, CEO of the Canadian Partnership Against Cancer. Appreciate your information this morning and your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa.
All right. Take care and have a great day.
You too.
It is 10:29. We're going to take a break for the news with Blake Priddle. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you joining us this morning for a little while. As Parliament gets set to resume, small businesses are making it clear. They're making a very clear call to Ottawa that it's time to make 2026 the year of the entrepreneur. Canadian Federation of Independent Business is urging federal leaders to prioritize policies that help small and mid-sized entrepreneurs grow and innovate. But, what does that look like? From rising costs, labor shortages, regulatory burdens, certainly small business owners are facing a whole host of pressure these days. And, to tell us exactly what small businesses are needing and why they need it now, we're joined by Louis-Philippe Gauthier, who is Vice President of CFIB Atlantic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
So listen, to start off, can you explain what the CFIB means when they call for 2026 to be the year of the entrepreneur? I mean, what does that even look like?
Well, from our perspective and the perspective of our members, it looks as a government that would be there to support businesses. And what does support mean? Well, at this time, for example, of course, everybody would acknowledge that we've had a bit of issues with our neighbors to the south. It was quite a roller coaster year last year, and New Year's kind of going a little bit in that direction as of today. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, the question is what are the policies that government can put in place to help small and medium-sized business owners? We have a competitive reality with our neighbors to the south where our taxation rates are higher than what they are. So we need to be able to compete. So we are asking the federal government to look at reducing the small business tax rate from 9% to 6%, increasing the threshold and indexing that to the inflation. Of course, within all the trade talks and the measures that government has done, well, there has been monies that have been collected by the federal government. So we are asking the federal government to bring that money back to business owners so that are affected by the tariffs as soon as possible. If the federal government is collecting money, it should go back to the businesses that are being affected. Mm. And when you look at the cost side of the ledger, well, the reality is there are some elements of unfairness. For example, in the EI system, where business owners pay 60% compared to 40% of the premiums that are paid by employees. And we're either asking the federal government to do a specific EIR rate for small businesses, or at least bring it to a 50-50 contribution so that it's fair. And that's something that we've been asking for years at this point.
And now, just out of curiosity, how does the CFIB identify small business? What is your working definition of a small business?
Well, we use essentially the same definition as Statistics Canada. From our perspective, our members are all 100% it's Canadian owned. In other words, it can't be part of foreign ownership or part of listing on stock markets, but then there's external ownership. But depending on the project, when we're doing analysis, you can look at micro businesses and et cetera. But the Statistics Canada definition of 99 employees and down suits well.
All right. So now your advocacy spans certainly many fronts. What are the biggest pressures? I mean, what are small businesses in Atlantic Canada telling you their biggest pressures are right now?
Well, the number one item that we're getting through our data that we monitor every month is the issue relating to soft demand. In other words, people aren't as consuming as much. And that reality, of course, if people aren't spending, consumers are being careful with their dollars, but that has an impact on businesses. So business owners aren't seeing the revenues that they would be expecting at this point. And that's been true for over a year and a half. Unfortunately, that's also the reality of the consumers. So that's there. Yeah. If we look at costs, well, all the elements that we track, either insurance costs, payroll costs, you name it, everything is higher than historical averages. So from a cost perspective, businesses are feeling the same thing as consumers. Prices are continuing to increase. They're not going down. And that's putting a pinch on every single line item.
Mm-hmm. So, red tape, regulatory complexity, that keeps coming up time and time again in the CFIB's research. Can you hit me with an example of a regulatory hurdle that could be eased quickly that would help small businesses, whether it's helping them save time or money?
Well, talking about red tape, just as an FYI for your listeners, next week is Red Tape Awareness Week. So we've got a whole bunch of activities that are coming out.
All right.
And in Nova Scotia particularly, with the Office of Regulatory Affairs and the focus of this government and previous government on reducing red tape, there's a lot of work that's been done. If we look at reducing the burden on physicians and trying to remove the paperwork, some of the paperwork that doctors have to deal with so that they either have better quality of life or have more time to see patients is an example of the success stories in Nova Scotia. In addition, they have put in place a process of being able to look at all of the forms that are being filled out by businesses. So taking the frustration out of a business of having to knock on multiple doors. Now there's a navigator service where businesses can contact government if they've got questions on regulatory matters. That is kind of a one-stop shop. You call there and they should be able to orient you. And if it's a red tape issue, they identify it and they try to fix it internally. So there's been a great amount of work by the Nova Scotia government over successive governments that we've noticed and that we've, of course, celebrated.
And you mentioned red tape with regards to doctors and medical practice. Just learning recently of a mayor out in a small town in British Columbia who actually, they were struggling to get physicians into their community. So he set up a clinic and he hired doctors as municipal employees. So, that was their solution to their red tape and their doctor problem in one step.
Well, if we look, I won't preempt the report that's coming out next week on Monday, but there are a lot of realities and there are multiple things that governments can do. And I would say, as a hint, Nova Scotia is pushing quite well in that direction.
Yeah. Who's doing it right?
I would say Nova Scotia right now.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So
I don't want to
we're
preempt
sort of
everything for next week.
No,
but I would say
absolutely.
yes.
All right. No, we'll leave that there. But, another report that you guys have released recently suggesting that property tax levels are really slamming small businesses hard. How does this impact competitiveness, financial stability of small business in this region?
Well, property taxes are an issue across Atlantic Canada, including Nova Scotia, where essentially, if you look at the differential between what residential pays and commercial pays, there's quite a gap. So what we're asking councils across the province is to reduce that gap and ideally eliminate it. Like, there's no real reason why a business should be paying more than residential. So that's the general point that we're trying to make and communicate. If you look at overall either property taxes, corporate taxes, or all other service charges that governments, either municipal, provincial, or federal, tag on to the reality of running a business, Canadian businesses are at a disadvantage compared to businesses south of the border. Mm. And when you're considering that either somebody wants to invest $1 in North America, where do they want to invest it? Do they want to invest it in Canada, where their costs and their tax charges are going to be higher than what they are in the U.S.? That's a reality. And when you're thinking about businesses that are operating here, if their costs are higher, they're having a tougher time competing with their neighbors to the south. So it's something that all levels of government need to consider.
Yeah, I was going to say, if 2026 is indeed going to be the year of the entrepreneur, we're going to need all orders of government on deck to make that happen.
One can only hope.
All right. Louis-Philippe Gauthier, Vice President of CFIB Atlantic, thank you so very much for your time this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Take care and have a great day. It is 10:45. We're going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show, the 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And it is 10:48 here on the Todd Veinotte Show. Be sitting in the chair until Monday, and that's when Dan comes back and takes back control of the program. Listen, we still, some folks are without power out there today after the storm yesterday, and it was probably the very first taste of big weather that we've had so far this year. So, I thought I would just check in with meteorologist Alistair Alders just to get a rundown of how things stacked up with the storm yesterday. Good morning, Alistair.
Hey, good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Not too bad. A little bit of a wild ride to get into work yesterday, and
I imagine.
And in some cases, some folks today were still struggling. I just wonder if are the numbers in yet from the storm yesterday? How much did we get?
Yeah, so the totals did vary. I think generally for most of HRM, it was about a 15 to 25 centimeter snowfall event, but some of the volunteer reports closer to the coast came in closer to about 10 centimeters of snow. But for Halifax and really much of the province, it was a 15 to 30 centimeter snowfall event. But I think what made this notable, I mean, obviously you mentioned there it was kind of the first real taste of winter we've had so far this January. But the fact that it was just this very heavy, wet, back-breaking snow where, it was a nor'easter, but the winds weren't really the concern. The winds didn't cause the power interruptions this time. It was the fact that this was just such a dense and heavy wet snow just weighting down on the trees and the power infrastructure, causing, the tens of thousands of power outages. So while it wasn't, one of, what many of us would classify as a significant winter storm, I mean, it was certainly a decent one, and obviously caused a number of issues with, not just the power, but also travel yesterday and then today, because obviously, as I mentioned, this was wet snow, and then where we went below the freezing mark last night, things did freeze up, leading to some icy spots this morning.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question because we had, it was almost perfect conditions for black ice this morning. I think there were several roads that actually were closed for a spell, so they could get out there and salt. But what conditions led to the black ice?
Well, temperatures really yesterday, throughout much of the snowfall event, were hovering at or just above the freezing mark. So, as I mentioned, it was a very heavy, wet snow. So once the crews did clear it, the roads were still quite wet. Wind would have been a bit of a benefit in terms of keeping the snow off of the trees to limit the power outages and also to help dry out the roads a bit faster. Where the winds were light, things didn't dry up as quickly. But we had a frontal boundary move in last night with some scattered flurries and periods of light snow. And temperatures, again, were just at or even slightly above the freezing mark. There were even a few showers mixed in. So just given that we had the wet snow and in some cases showers, and then we dipped below the freezing mark early this morning, it was just kind of the perfect recipe for those untreated surfaces to really freeze up because obviously if there was no salt down on them, it was not really it wasn't really there to prevent that freezing from occurring.
Yeah. And so now what, for the crews that are out there still trying to hook up the power, I think last I heard there was 20,000 customers still without. What are those crews going to be faced with weather-wise the next 12 hours?
Yeah, it is still 20,000. I'm looking at the map now without power. Generally okay weather in terms of sky conditions. We've had a few scattered flurries out there this morning. That will generally ease this afternoon, and it's relatively quiet weather-wise for tonight, partly cloudy, and tomorrow some sunny periods. They're contending with a bit of wind today. Nothing that I would think would inhibit crews from doing their work, but the winds are gusting up to 40 and 50 today. They will continue to gust to 40 tonight and on Wednesday. So it's not significant, but dealing with a bit of wind. The next system of note comes in for Thursday morning, and this really isn't a significant system, but likely some light snow in the morning mixing over to rain showers as we rise above the freezing mark, 4 degrees the high on Thursday. So we're likely to see a bit of a messy mix on Thursday. I don't think the snow will be significant in accumulation, traced to a few centimeters, then mixing over to the showers. But obviously when you're dealing with that mixing, things can get a bit messy.
Yeah.
So in the short term, things are looking okay. Thursday, bit of a messy system.
But then temperatures take a nosedive, don't they?
Yes, that's the concern. Hopefully, I would assume that most will have their power back, hopefully today, if not tonight. But obviously, crews want to work to get certainly by the end of the week because, it is going to be cold tonight, -11 for the low. But the real cool down comes in for Friday night. We're down to -13, and then we're really settling into the cold for the upcoming weekend and really for most of the rest of January.
Oh, really?
With the daytime high near -11 on Saturday. So we're going to be quite cold beginning Friday night and Saturday, and this will be a stretch of cold that likely, not to necessarily the same extent, but will continue for the rest of January by the looks of things.
Okay, because that's what they're dealing with in Ontario right now is that extreme cold, yes?
Yes, it's starting to plunge across Canada and even much of the U.S., and it'll be we're getting, like I said, a bit of a shot of that cold coming in tonight, and for tomorrow. But then temperatures moderate Thursday. But it's really kind of that second shot of colder air coming in Friday night to Saturday that's really going to be bone chilling and what could linger for several days.
All right. Listen, thank you so very much for bringing us that information, Alistair. Appreciate the overview of the storm yesterday, and we'll talk again on Friday.
Sounds good, Lisa. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Meteorologist Alistair Alders. It is 10:55, and before we take a break for the news at the top of the hour, you might have seen this on social media, and certainly cyber experts are issuing warnings. You see this wave of nostalgia online, sharing photos and memories from 2016. Well, it's the latest social media trend that on the surface might seem harmless or fun, but experts are warning that these posts could unintentionally reveal sensitive personal information that AI systems or fraudsters could be exploiting. We're talking things like facial data and metadata to answers that usually mirror those common security questions. So, if you've seen it around the hashtag 2016 again, it certainly represents something that seems innocuous, but it is definitely a lesson in that there is no such thing as hitting delete on the internet. And, cyber experts are warning that people who are posting personal family images from 2016, especially that of children, they risk having those images used by AI. So, just think before you click when you're participating in those social media hashtags like 2016 again. Perhaps we'll try and get a social media expert or cybersecurity expert to get some more information on the trend and the potential dangers that it represents. It is 10:57. I'm going to stop down for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. Coming up after 11, it is the open hour. We're going to throw open the phone lines to you, and it's your turn to participate in the conversation. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. Good morning. And welcome to the open hour. 902-405-6000 is the number, 1-877-801-8255. That is how you reach us today. And we'll get you on the air to discuss whatever is on your mind. This is your opportunity to take control of the conversation. Perhaps you want to talk about something you've heard on the show today. Perhaps something else is on your mind. No shortage of topics out there. Cape Breton, more than 5,000 people packed arenas over the weekend for a major women's hockey tournament. It's brought players, families, and fans into the community. Local hotels and restaurants saw a huge boost on the weekend. Another reminder of how big events like this can ripple through smaller communities. So were you there? Did you spend part of the weekend up there taking that in? Have you been part of tournaments like this in the past? And do events like this still matter to local economies, or are they just getting harder to pull off? Shifting gears, perhaps something that is catching some attention lately, Nova Scotia is warning about increased coyote activity across the province. A lot more sightings have been reported in residential areas, and officials say that winter conditions and changing landscapes are pushing coyotes closer to people, pets, and homes. So what about you? Have you noticed more coyote action out where you are? Do you feel prepared to deal with those wildlife encounters? Do you think the province needs to be doing more? On the jobs front, the closure of Ubisoft in Halifax has sparked renewed debate, with the NDP calling on the province to strengthen labor laws, arguing that workers need better protections when companies shut down or leave with little notice. So here's the question for you. When companies do shut down suddenly like that, should the government step in more aggressively to protect workers? Or is this just the reality of modern global industries? The bigger picture, Mark Carney is heading to Switzerland to take part in the World Economic Forum. That's where global leaders and business execs sit down and talk about inflation, growth, trade, and the geopolitical tensions that are out there. Do you think forums like the WEF actually matter to everyday Canadians? Or does it all feel just too far removed from life here at home? Perhaps that is something that you want to discuss. Staying with the economy, new Bank of Canada survey showing that Canadians' expectations around inflation and economic growth are shifting. People are feeling cautiously optimistic, but others are still worried about affordability and interest rates. So what's your outlook right now? You feeling more confident about the economy than you were a year ago, or perhaps more uneasy? How it is affecting the way you spend or save? On the international stage, Canada's role in global security and trade is back in the spotlight. discussions rather involving NATO, Greenland, military commitments, and potential tariff pressures, all linked to U.S. politics. So do you think that Canada needs to play a stronger role internationally? Should the focus stay firmly on issues at home, though? That's, some of the stories that are out there making headlines. And those are some of the questions I've been asking myself. What about you? Phone lines are open. What has caught your attention today? 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Off to the phone lines where Caroline is. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Hi there, Lisa. How you doing today?
So far, so good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I was going to call him last week, but I forgot. But anyway, so I live in Dartmouth North, and I've been living there since 2017. It was the only place I could find that could take a dog. So last week, this is during school, hours, around 2:15-ish, I drive my car. Sometimes take my dog for a drive, other places to, in wooded areas and stuff. So I take a drive down to the corner of Victoria and Primrose, where there's a Lawton's Drugs and there's a big green space area.
Mm-hmm.
So I park my car and I go, okay, there's a giant comforter in the bus stop. So I go, okay, so I put my dog back in the car because I know it's a frequent area where people use drugs, needles, all the time. I'm calling. So I got my gloves out of the car. I just grabbed a pinched part of the blanket. I pulled it, and you wouldn't believe the needles that come flying out of that.
Oh boy!
I don't know how. And this is like multiple cars go by this bus shelter. So immediately I Googled Mainline. I said, hey, can you guys get to this area? They said, luckily we're in Dartmouth. There's only 8 of us. Usually it takes 24 to 48 hours. If that, and I said, well, what happens if that's the case? I said, there's caps, needles, everything here. And she said, if that's the case, please call police. And what I'm wondering is, well, if the police are frequent in our area all the time, why didn't they see somebody injecting with a giant, and I'm talking like double or queen size comforter inside a bus shelter with needles all over the place? And they also said, Mainline also said, watch out. If you are going to pick these up and put them in a sharp container, the caps sometimes have broken tops on them. Yeah. Right. So just as they finish cleaning up, a trail of kids comes walking by, and I'm like, wow. I was meant, God sent me there or whatever to address this. But this is a huge, huge issue. And you know what? Why can't we redirect the $200 million on Roby Street for a bus stop and make a state-of-the-art facility for people with addictions here? Because we have, they can't help it, and the ones that are ready. I'm ready. We have a place in 2 days, and 2 days later they're using again. Yeah. You know what I mean? But Nova Scotia could grab this by the balls and make a lot of money, across Canada if they made a state-of-the-art facility here for people with addictions. And some people probably. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say the problem that you point out is one that we're seeing as well. Just looking at a story today about folks who work in the recycling and waste diversion industry saying that more sharps, the medical needles, are ending up in their waste streams, in the garbage, in the recycling, and it's dangerous. I mean, yeah, it's the Pharmacy Association of Nova Scotia manages the current sharps disposal program.
Right.
But they're a nonprofit that don't receive provincial support and are just voluntarily funded. And I think, we need to be funding more organizations like that.
Well, there's only 8 of them that can, when you call Mainline. So, I mean, anybody that sees needles, if they can't get a hold of Mainline, please call the police because they're apparently, so I see them so often. It's terrible to say. They gave me a sharp container to put in my car and and it said use tongs. Make sure that you don't put them in the garbage can. Make sure they have to go in a pop bottle or something secure, right? But I just, and as for the economy, I mean, it's scaring me to death what's going on right now. I think we all just need to live day by day because it's changing day by day.
Well, I think what you found there is a prime example of how things really are out there day to day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Listen, thank you
All
so
right.
much. Appreciate your call this morning. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. And Wayne is joining us now. Hey, Wayne, good morning.
Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
So far, so good. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want Todd and the other gentleman know I am sitting in my garage with a cigar and my 2 dogs.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I want to talk about coyotes because I live out in Timberley, and
Oh, yes.
I used to walk the trail a lot
Yeah.
until I got attacked by a coyote.
Really?
And what happened was I was walking outbound towards Jubilee, and there was a lady. Well, I'd already turned around, was coming back towards my house, towards Timberley. And I was on a long stretch, and this lady coming towards me said, she had a German Shepherd with her, she said, "Do you realize there's a coyote stalking you?" And I said, "No." So anyway, I got down to the lake where the highway went over the trail, and I stopped and warned 2 ladies with babies and cribs that this coyote was tracking me down. And no sooner I said the word coyote to those 2 ladies, he jumped out at me, and I tried everything to kick him in the head and get him. So anyway, the reason why I'm calling is, you know how many times I've stopped on that trail and said to teachers that are walking little tiny kids that are between the age, I'd say 5, maybe 4, whatever.
Yeah.
They're so small that a coyote can drag one of them in the woods and go off them. So I said to these teachers, I said, "Do you guys have anything on you to defend you in case you get a coyote attack?" No. I don't know why they take the kids on those trails.
Probably because they figure it's safe. To be honest, walking a trail, coyote is probably not the first thing that I would worry about on seeing on that trail.
Well, every Nova Scotian or every Blue Nose or every Cape Breton or New Brunswick or Newfoundlander knows, even if you're a city boy like me, if you go in the woods, you're guaranteed to run into a deer, a black bear, or a coyote, or a moose, whatever.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, you should be carrying a stick with you, or a walking stick that you buy at Irving, or something on you to beat these dogs off if they ever make a major attack. And they will do it because we've heard it in the media and everything.
Yeah, and see, I didn't think that they were prone to attack people unless they were, starving or injured or, in distress. So that certainly is concerning to me that, you were just walking a trail and it jumped out at you.
And it wasn't even wintertime. So in the wintertime, though, it's totally different because food is more scarce.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my rant for today.
All right. Well, listen, Wayne, thank you so very much. 902-405-6000 is the number. Al is standing by, and we're just going to take a quick break. I'll get to you in just a second, Al. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. 11:18 is the time, and this is the open hour on the Todd Veinotte Show. This is your opportunity to call and tell us what is on your mind at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And that's exactly what Al has done this morning. Welcome, Al, to the program.
Thank you. I'd like to deal with the Uber issue that's happening in the city here in Halifax.
Yeah.
There was a guy that was on the radio, some expert, saying how safe the Uber was over the taxi because they could download an app and you would know the driver you're getting and you know the distance, you could follow it. Well, Casino Taxi has that, and they got 400 cabs. Bob has it on their phone, and so the other companies, Yellow Cab has it. So to me, that's like being dishonest by saying that we don't have Uber equipment, but it's all the taxi drivers that I know of has some kind of app for taxiing, which is as safe as Uber, and even safer for the simple reason, if we complain to our manager, we get hauled into the office right away, and we could get fired. Now, right now, they complain, the Uber drivers, if you complain, the customer complains, they got to go to Uber to complain. So there's no oversight there, which they're trying to get now, which is very logical. But the thing that's very unsafe with Uber is that the drivers get such a low percentage of the money that that's on their app. So what happens is they're going around that. They're putting Uber signs in their windows and they're picking up people off the street, which nullifies their commercial insurance as soon as they pick up. If they do not go through the app, the Uber app, that means the driver himself doesn't have that Uber commercial insurance on his car. So that's very, very dangerous. And I wish some people would bring that out too, which I am right now. But
so now, Al, the more you talk, the more I'm figuring out. It sounds like you're a cabbie.
Yeah, I've been a cabbie a long time. It's just that I'm not saying Uber shouldn't be here, but they have such an advantage over us by the rules. They have to. They given them a license, an 04 license. So anybody who's say yourself, you want to drive Uber, so you get an 04 license. And an 04 license, that means you can drive a big bus. I don't know if you can drive a big bus or not, because I can, right, because of my license. I've gone through the training and stuff. Every taxi driver has to. So that's something, that's an advantage for them. Also, too, what you're looking at is the advantage of cars, right? The city has, what they've done to the taxi industry, they've said that you have to have a 10-year car within that 10 years to get a taxi license. So if I buy a new car today and 10 years, on the 11th years, I'm grandfathered in. So that's really unfair to the driver who wants to get into town, because if he buys an 11-year-old car, he can't get into the taxi industry. An 11-year-old car might be as good as that taxi for sure, because after 11 years, it's going. So they've put roadblocks for the taxi driver, and they've piled on money onto us, which is unfair. Also, too, what you're looking at is the Uber driver. They get such a low rate of the percentage of calls that they have to find another way of making money. So they're influenced by, like, they'll go into hotels and they'll just walk around. Somebody comes in the desk and say, "You're looking for transportation to the airport," and the person will say, "Yeah." So they'll get him and give him a flat rate. You know, it's all right if they were insured, but they're not insured commercially if they don't go through the app, the Uber app, right? So that's very, very dangerous for the customer, right? So because they're not insured properly, because they're just got personal insurance on that car. And that's all I got to say for today.
All right, Al. So listen, if I'm hearing you right, sounds to me like you feel there is a role for Uber, Lyft, and those companies to play, but they should be playing by the same rules as taxi drivers.
Yes, exactly. If they complain, if a customer complains, they'll complain to Uber, and the Uber will say yes, 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 yes. But if they don't do anything to the driver, nothing is done. But for example, if I pick you up, Lisa, and all of a sudden, I'm drinking or I'm doing something crazy, speeding or something, you complain to my manager, they'll fire me.
Yep. All right, Al. Appreciate your
you.
time this morning. Thank you so very much for calling. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Tim is joining us now. Good morning, Tim. Welcome.
Good morning, Lisa. This city is full of wildlife. A few nights ago, I was going up Dorothea Drive, by Topsail, a couple of deer come running by. Now, last night was something I've never seen in this city before, a coyote.
Really? In town?
Yeah, it was coming out of the residential area, Mount Edward Road, by where the ball field is, the watershed.
Yeah.
At first, I saw it, and I saw the bushy tail. At first, I thought it was no, that's way too big to be a fox. And I watched it skate, and a coyote has a very distinctive gait. And it was definitely a coyote. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't a domestic dog. It was definitely a coyote. So anyone in that area, keep your pets close.
Yeah, keep them on a leash, as they say.
Yeah, and the coyote at least has a couple of deer to look at anyways, poor deer.
There you go.
But
well,
anyway,
yeah. When it comes to coyote, I mean, I've certainly seen the odd one on the side of the road, Magazine Hill area, and out in Beaverbank, certainly we have heard them at night, but have yet to see one.
No, I've seen foxes out by Eastern Passage and all that, sea deer all over the place. But that first coyote I came in contact with. Now, my most exciting wildlife one was in Alberta when I was in the military. We were in the mountains.
Yeah.
I was getting up cooking breakfast by a river. On the other side of the river, up on a cliff, a cougar.
Whoa. Yeah. And
they
don't ask questions.
He was looking at me. I said, "You don't come to me, and I won't shoot you," because we had rifles. Like in the military, we go out places like that. We have our rifles with us with live ammo just in case. But it was the most beautiful animal I ever saw.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, it's a different kind of... My husband grew up out in Alberta and spent a lot of his childhood in Waterton National Park. And, he tells me about they used to have great big bells that they would carry to scare off the bears.
Yeah, I mean, cougars you very seldom see anyway. So just that in itself was pretty cool.
All right.
But
well,
anyways, like I said, lots of wildlife. Keep careful. Have a good day.
All right. Take care, Tim. Thank you so very much for your time. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. We're just going to quickly hang on. There's David. Hey, good morning, David. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. What's on your mind?
I know you're close to a break, so if I don't finish, I would like to come back and finish.
Absolutely. If you want to get us started, I'll put you on hold and we'll come back and finish up after the news. But what's on your mind?
Sure, I appreciate it, Lisa. What's on my mind is listening to taxi drivers like the gentleman you just had on, and listening to other taxi drivers complain about having competition. And what I mean by that is Uber and Uplift. We deserve to have that here. Mm-hmm. We deserve to have an opportunity to have another source of transportation. I use Uber and Uplift, and he is wrong in so many reasons. The number one he's wrong with is that when I don't know if you use them, but we'll use Uplift as an example, Lisa. Mm-hmm. When I call Uplift to take me to the office, it tells me, it knows where I am because it pinpoints my location, asks me where I'm going to, and I punch it in. Gives me a cost with different options, a fast reaction time, a slower reaction time, and you get to pick. It tells you the car. It sends you a picture of the driver. It sends you their license plate number.
Wow.
They pick you up. So it's not somebody from out of the blue walking around a hotel who just says, hey, I'll take you there for this. That does not happen. And if it does happen, very rare. So when they pick me up, I see the car. It takes me to my office. It says one rate, Lisa. Let's say it's $18.75. And it shows everything on your phone. So you can see where they're going, what time your arrival. And as you're going, Lisa, it tells you what time and what spot you're at. So if I'm going from Bedford to Halifax around the Bedford Basin, halfway there, it says you have 10 minutes left in your ride. It doesn't matter if traffic is there. It takes me a half hour to get there. It's one fee I pay.
All
and
right.
Then it tells me my arrival. And then shortly after that, you receive another message from them saying, how was your ride? Do you have any comments? And would you like to tip with 3 different percentages?
All right, David, listen, I'm just going to stick you on hold for just a quick minute. We're up against the news here, but I'll take you up on your offer to hold on the line, and we'll come back after the news and finish this conversation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hold on just for a moment. 902-405-6000 is the number. It is time to take a quick break. Blake Priddle is standing by with the news. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And the open hour continues. Your calls at 902-405-6000. And going back to David, who was talking about Uber, and we're going to let him finish up. David?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Lisa, is I approve of the council taking another look at it in the future because it's pretty serious of how it's going to reflect on our travel, meaning we have traffic congestion here, as you know. We've been fighting light rail, which never got approved. We're trying to make bus lanes. We're trying to get more people in. We get rid of the tolls on the bridge. What does that do, Lisa? Allow people to take more cars because they don't have to pay a toll and everything's safe.
And
you know what I mean?
As a counselor, I never understood. I mean, of all the things that we asked for over the years with regards to things of the province, eliminating the tolls from the harbor bridges was never discussed as something that we wanted to see. I don't even think it was something that the Bridge Commission ever discussed wanting to see. So, that one always flummoxed me.
Yeah, exactly. So to hear taxi drivers, to hear the industry, did they think they were going to go into the future without any competition? I mean, do I want to sit in a taxi and go from, and I'll give you an example, do I want to go from Eastern Passage to downtown Dartmouth and start the meter at whatever and pay $28 or $30, which would easily be, or do I want to go in an Uber or an Uplift and pay $12.95? And honestly, Lisa, I don't care what route he takes because I'm paying that set amount. So to get to my point is, don't take that away from us. Don't, if you're trying to throw darts here and come up with stupid comments about walking around in the lobby and grabbing people and having a sticker on your car. No, there's more to it than that. I see it. I use it every day going to the office. I see it. I use it. So does a lot of my friends use it. A lot of people use it. It cuts down on them taking their car. If I want to take my son to a Moosehead game, if I want to take my daughter to a Moosehead game, I sit on my app, I get a set price, it gets me there, there's no car, there's no parking, it's less one car in the city, and it's a third of the rate of a taxi. Don't take that option away from us. Don't start thinking that you're going to keep a monopoly. You know yourself, Lisa, we're tired of monopolies. We're tired of a couple grocery stores. We're tired of gas stations here. We're tired of only one place you can take your car now is to a dealer because all the gas stations turn into car washes. We're tired of being a monopoly. Step into the future, make it work, everybody agree on it, and it reflects the taxi industry, so be it. It's life. That's the way that it is. It's moving into the future.
All right.
I guess David. The ending here is that there's more security for Uber than Uplift than people think there is.
All right, David, appreciate that. Thank you so much for hanging on and have a great day.
You too. Thank you for your time.
All right. 902-405-6000. And Joe is joining us. Good morning, Joe. Thank you so much for holding.
Hey, good morning yourself.
All right. What's on your mind?
For having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, I'm going to change the subject a little bit.
Okay.
Just in terms of the Greenland stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If Greenland gets occupied by the states, we've heard the rhetoric from Trumpy down there saying he wants Canada to be the 51st state. If you look at the map of North America, Canada is surrounded on the west coast by Alaska, not completely, but you've got obviously the southern border. And if they take Greenland, the only place that isn't on a border with the states would be like Nova Scotia. And Newfoundland. And if you look at that in terms of what comes up in the future, it doesn't look good for us. It really doesn't look good for us. And I'd like to see Carney take a little bit more of a firm stance on the situation there. And I mean, this stuff with the Nobel Peace Prize, oh my God.
Oh, the insanity of it all. So should Canada be sending troops?
Word. I believe so, yeah. But I think we need to get some more bases up in the north of our own territory as well. So, you got to figure out the manpower for that. So,
but I mean, for the first time ever, the Canadian military, and I think this was just on the news with
Swedes are there now. Yep.
And we've got a plan, or at least a guide that would indicate what it would look like if the U.S. was to invade.
Trump's he destroys for his control, and it's just complete chaos. And you can't you can't predict anything that he does. I mean, the Board of Peace, and you invade Venezuela, and your first ally in the Board of Peace is Putin.
Well,
I mean,
yeah. He's invited Putin. He's invited our prime minister.
Yep.
And what cost? Like, I'm sure there's a pay to play.
$1 billion. That's the membership fee.
So you have to pay $1 billion in order to sit on this board, which he
permanently. I think we have 3 years to before we need to actually pay. But I mean, Carney's right. Like, he needs to find out what the financials are of it, what the logistics of it, what's how. I mean, Donald Trump gets things out of control, and then that's where he finds his. I mean, he's got a lot of strength, obviously. I mean, the world's largest military, I mean, just nothing matters to him in terms of what law or governance is. So,
well, there are no laws.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you can cite them. They talk a lot about them, but realistically, like, I mean, Greenland needs to be protected, like, needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think Canada should take a really strong role in it. I mean, we share an island. Like, I mean, we have a war with Denmark where we leave a bottle of Canadian whiskey.
Isn't that the greatest story ever? Now, my understanding is that it's been solved, and we've literally divided the island in half, and so we own half. Denmark adds half. But my Lord, what a great example of how
the whiskey war.
Yeah. Disputes.
So I mean, we need to reestablish those relationships, because Greenland, like, that's Denmark. We're on the border of Europe. I mean, we share an island. Saint Pierre and Miquelon is just off the coast of Newfoundland, which is a French territory. We've got, like, close ties that we need to. I would say the relationship needs to get a lot stronger. I mean, this world is getting pretty small, and there's a lot of people that want to take it over. So,
all right.
But anyway, I don't know if I'm eating too much time, but
no, go ahead. You got something else on your mind?
The other thing I was going to say about coyotes, is that if you see a lone coyote, it's probably been, like, kicked out of its pack, because
it's been ostracized.
Yeah, it's been ostracized, right? So it's either done something that the pack didn't, like. And the thing is with female coyotes, as soon as the alpha is dead, she goes into ostrich. Like, there's no season for them. They go right into ostrich right away. And I've got a lone one coming around here, and I've got 2 kids, and it's definitely something. I mean, I have a baseball bat next to my door.
Wow.
For that reason.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for that, Joe. Much appreciate your time today.
Much appreciate yours too. And hello to all the listeners, and happy second snow day, I guess.
All right. Yeah, a lot of folks still stuck at home. Appreciate that. 405-6000 is the number, and Todd is on the line. Hey, Todd, thank you so much for holding.
Hey, how you doing today, Lisa?
Pretty good. What's on your mind?
So I've been driving cab in the city roughly 30 years, and the gentleman before you, he does have some good points, but he's way off base on other things. For example, I think I wrote to you. You used to be out in Beaverbank, correct?
I still am.
Counselor?
Yep.
You still are? Okay.
Oh, I'm not the counselor anymore, but I still live out that way, yeah.
Okay. So I wrote to you, Steve Craig, many other counselors before Uber and Lyft came in here.
Yeah.
I understand the need for it. However, the regulation for it has been beyond terrible. And even going back to when I was in San Francisco in 2016, took Ubers, took Lyfts, took taxis, asked them all about it, and I wrote to you guys about the dangers of Airbnbs. And no one listened to me. So I'm going to give you an example. The other gentleman talking about the Ubers going into hotels is absolutely a fact. I used to drive nights. I only specifically drive days now. I can sit on the road downtown watching people flag Ubers on flat rates, which means they have no insurance when they're on the roads. Does anybody see more hit and runs in the city lately? That's why. There's no accountability. They have no light on their car. Nobody knows who they are. I get a fine if I take my light off my car. Yeah. Why is there no accountability to know who these people are?
And I guess that's, and I share many of those concerns. I mean, my thought process is if these companies are providing the exact same service as a taxi driver, then should they not be subject to the same regulations as a taxi driver?
This was my issue. The fellow before me, he said we have a monopoly. A monopoly would be, I work for casino taxi.
Yeah.
This has been part of the city for almost 100 years, family owned, immersed in the city, cares about the city. We've been handcuffed for years by the city. We just had to fight when they gave us an increase to lower our price by 50 cents. Uber can do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. They can exploit drivers however they want. I talk to Uber drivers daily, and they ask me how to become a cab driver because they are exploited. You take a look around at who the main people driving these Ubers are. It's people that can be exploited very easily. I ask them, why don't you complain when they steal your money? Because say if you get a price of $22, the Uber driver gets a price of $15, and then they take 35 or 30% off the top of the 15 when they're supposed to take it off of 22. Uber is playing a very worldwide, they're the ones trying to get the monopoly. You can ask any city worldwide about this. And then there's another safety issue. I'm seeing people get into my cab that used to use Ubers, and guys are giving their phones to people who aren't driving the Uber. It's a completely different person driving it, which used to go back in the cab industry back in the day, but they got that under control. And the guy said, too, the other fella, we have the same apps as Uber. This guy must not know much about the cab industry. The guy that got in after me while this conversation was going on, he says, I got your picture, I got your name, I got your plate, I got your car, I got the rough estimate on the price. It's paid through the app. And so people don't know enough about this. If you want to do a deep dive into it, where Donald Trump was trying to do this back in 2016 for his campaign with Uber, if you want to take it back to when they tried to kibosh Lyft, when Lyft first came into California, they literally gave out credit cards to tie up Lyft so that the Uber clients did not think. And then go back to the insurance. On CBC, or not CBC, ATV News, the people were hitting an Uber. And the father and mother got no insurance on it because of the disclaimer in the fine print. I'm just saying, you want to have fair and competition. It should be regulated across the board.
All right.
We're not different industries here. I don't care if you call it rideshare, cab, hack. It's the exact same. Just like if I open a bar, I need to follow the rules. And that should be the way with all of us. Thank you for your time.
All right, Todd, thank you. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Darcy, hang on the line. I'll get to you in just a moment. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And the open hour continues here on the Todd Veinotte Show. 902-405-6000 is the number, or if you're out of town, 1-877-801-8255. Phone lines are open right now, and just wanted to touch on something. We got a message from the municipality that the overnight winter parking ban has been lifted, so the parking ban won't be enforced in either Zone 1 or Zone 2 overnight tonight. But just a reminder that if your vehicle is getting in the way of snow removal equipment, it can still be ticketed or towed. So make sure that you definitely keep your vehicle off the road if they're still cleaning up your street. I got an email message on our topic yesterday. We had a woman call in, I think her name was Shelley, talking about some funding that was given to Meza Restaurant. And Jean gave us a quick shout out in on the email and said that she wanted to respond to Shelley's incorrect assumptions about Meza. says she's called in several times about this and people have corrected her, but she clearly wants to adhere to her biases. Yes, Meza received $500,000. This information can be found on MP Darren Fisher's website. This was a repayable loan to support a new 15,000 square foot facility as a result of their growth across several provinces. This growth creates many jobs and delicious food for our communities. So thank you so much, Jean, for just writing in to make sure that we were set straight on that. And I kind of thought that was the case, because if it's anything like the municipality, you can't really give out money directly to individuals, only groups, businesses, nonprofits, that sort of thing. Listen, some other notices in the news that we're going to be looking at and trying to book some guests into for the next couple of days. Movement afoot. School and hospital cafeteria menus are under scrutiny. There's a new campaign to reduce the amount of processed meats that Canadians are consuming. And doctors and dietitians across the country are calling for stricter rules on what publicly funded institutions should be allowed to serve. And Dr. Zahara Kassam, who's a radiation oncologist at the University of Toronto, says that serving processed meats in schools and hospitals, says that our public institutions really should be modeling and be examples of good health. Says that we're not saying to everybody you can't have processed meats ever, but we're saying that public institutions should model the Canada Food Guide. Interesting to note that Dr. Kassam is a longtime vegan and is the driving force behind this open letter that was published on Monday. And it's mobilized more than 150 healthcare professionals to endorse recommendations that will bolster nutrition and well-being. The letter calls on Health Canada as well as provincial health and education ministers to phase out processed meats from healthcare facilities and schools. So, certainly not new. For more than a decade, the World Health Organization has been issuing some pretty explicit warnings about the link between processed meats, things like bacon and deli meats, and cancer. So, as the school lunch program is being sort of tweaked a bit here in Nova Scotia, what do you think? Do you agree with Dr. Kassam that perhaps hospitals and schools should be serving less processed meats, or should we be cutting it out of schools and other institutions altogether? 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Had a few folks call in today and talk about Greenland, and to say that that whole thing is going off the rails would be an understatement. The European Commissioner, President Ursula von der Leyen, has said that the EU is sharing concerns with the U.S. about Arctic security, and especially if Donald Trump follows through with the new tariffs based on his dispute over Greenland. She says that the alliance's response, the EU, their response would be unflinching and united. And von der Leyen was speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, where the Prime Minister is going to be as well. She says the U.S. risks sending its relationship with EU allies into a downward spiral that would only benefit shared adversaries. So Trump has announced planned tariffs this week on 8 countries that sent a small number of military personnel to Greenland last week. Our own Prime Minister is toying with the idea of sending Canadian troops. Do you think we should have a troop presence in Greenland while this is all taking place, or would that just poke the bear even further? 902-405-6000, the number to call if you want to discuss that, or 1-877-801-8255. Probably you've heard of the show Heated Rivalry. Its very cool roots start right here in Nova Scotia, where the author of the book series, born and raised here in Halifax, but those books that she wrote here in town are now opening up a wider conversation about LGBTQ presence in hockey. And certainly there are players that have become openly trans or gay, but they are few and far between. Many people are saying that this series is doing an incredible service to just shine a light on queer players and making people realize, some for the first time, that LGBTQ players are in hockey. And perhaps this is providing a safer place for them to be who they are. Perhaps that is something that's on your mind as well. 902-405-6000. Listen, we're going to take a quick break right here. We've got Blake Priddle standing by with the news. But on the other end, we will talk to Dr. Rob Thacker from Science Files. Catch up with Rob, find out how he's feeling. He was a little under the weather last week, so we'll hope that he's doing better. We'll do open hour again tomorrow. Thank you, everyone who called in today, and we'll hopefully hear from some of you tomorrow as well. It is 11:58. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back after the news.
Blackburn.
And welcome back to the show. Good afternoon. And it's time now for the Science Files with Dr. Rob Thacker, professor and astronomer from St. Mary's University. He is here to take your science questions. 902-405-6000 if you do have a question, a science-related question. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back, Dr. Rob.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be back, and I'm not 100% yet. I'm probably 85%, but I'll try and relax, because the more I relax, the better my voice is. If I get tight, you'll hear it very quickly. Right. So yeah, it's great to be back.
You just sip the water, just chill, and we'll just have a nice quiet conversation about all things science. Of course, taking your science questions, 405-6000, but a couple of stories that you sent my way. One of them in particular caught my attention, and this is about Veronica the cow.
Oh, yeah.
Veronica the cow lives in Austria, and for the last decade or so has been observed by her owners occasionally picking up sticks and maneuvering the ends of the stick to reach behind on her back to get places of her body that she can't otherwise reach. I mean, this is tool use. This is something that we don't normally associate with cattle.
Absolutely. So I love this. This is a cow that understands the value of a good scratch. So no, I mean, it's actually pretty incredible. There's been a whole paper written about it. And so a whole bunch of scientists went and actually studied Veronica for a while to see how she was using. And so they gave her a broom. And this is the really amazing thing. Everyone was thinking, well, she'll just pick up the broom and just sort of like rub it around and so on. But she demonstrated she understood the difference between using the brush side of the broom, which she would use on her back, versus flipping it around and using the sort of like butt end just to scratch underneath.
She understood the assignment.
Yeah, so it's really incredible, because the only other things we've seen other than humans to use tools is chimpanzees, right?
Yeah.
So that goes back to Jane Goodall and her research in the 60s. And so seeing cows do this kind of thing, personally, I'm not hugely surprised, right? I mean, it's obvious that animals are sentient in some way or another, and they can probably figure things out for themselves. But one of the writers of the paper has pointed out that because we don't necessarily tend to socialize farm animals very well, they may not necessarily be exposed to an environment where they'll learn to do that. And so with Veronica is a pet cow who has a lot of people drop by to say hello on a daily basis, and is probably very stimulated, right?
Wow.
So, yeah, it's really an incredible story.
An indication that perhaps cows are smarter than we first thought?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if a cow is capable of doing this, presumably other mammals are capable of doing it as well. And I mean, we certainly know, for example, that crows are very intelligent. So birds actually are capable of doing counting and problem solving and so on. So animal intelligence is something that I think traditionally we've not given our fellow animals enough credit for.
Yeah, because when you think of the farm animal, the first one that came to my mind was pigs. I mean, I always thought that the pig was said to be the more intelligent of the farm animals.
Yeah, and in fact, sorry, this is a little bit dark. I won't go there, but it's very obvious that pigs are very intelligent. Well, no, before pigs are being slaughtered, you can tell that they have a lot of fear.
Oh.
Right. And so it's very clear that pigs actually are intelligent creatures.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 if you have a science question for Dr. Rob Thacker. And joining us is Rick with a question. Hey, Rick, welcome to the show.
Good. How you doing this morning?
Hey, not too bad. What's on your mind?
Just a question, Rob. How do they figure out wind chill? Is there a formula?
Yeah, there is. So you can literally work out how much, I can't remember the formula off the top of my head, sorry, but you can literally work out how much energy you can transport in the air at a given temperature differential compared to the object versus the native air temperature. And so that's what they do. And there's also, as you'll probably won't be surprised to hear, there's also a factor for the wind speed as well, obviously, because the more air you have coming past, the more energy you can move as well.
So you had a temperature like -10 outside and you're driving your car at 60 or 100 kilometers an hour and you already have a wind chill of -20. Is that going to make it more of a wind chill?
Okay, it's going to depend upon the direction of the wind, right? So if you're driving into the wind, then yes, there's going to be a higher wind chill. If the wind is behind you, then no, it's not going to be so bad, right? But
because I noticed when I was flying on a plane, you get the little map thing on the back of the seat, and you look outside, and it says -50 or -60 degrees outside, right? Because you're
seriously high. Yeah.
Yes. So I was just wondering how they determine the wind speed, right?
Oh, so if you were wondering about well, I mean, the amount of energy that's being sucked from a thermal perspective for an aircraft that's going along at sort of like 500 miles an hour in -40 degrees, right? That is an awfully large amount of energy, but that's why they're so well insulated as well.
Okay. All right, that was just my question. Thanks.
All right, Rick, thank you. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call with your science questions with Dr. Rob Thacker. And David is joining us. Hey, David, hello.
Hi there. Yeah, sorry, just something Dr. Rob said sort of piqued my interest or sort of moved me, and that was just pigs and showing fear prior to slaughter. So, I'd just like to know more about that, but sort of also if you're implying that they sort of know what's coming and realize they're about to be slaughtered, or they're just kind of scared because they're in a new environment, being herded through a strange place or something like that.
So excuse me, I don't want to get into too much detail about this because this is about the inner workings of abattoirs, but yeah, I've seen pigs, and they're very acutely aware that something is wrong, right? And so very often with pigs, you actually have to tie them down. And as soon as you do that, they know there's something wrong, right? And so obviously I have no understanding for what a pig is thinking at that time, but it's very aware that something is wrong. And fortunately, in most cases, the pig is actually clubbed and knocked unconscious very quickly, so that suffering stops fairly quickly. But they're very acutely aware that there's something not right.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll see what I can find out about that. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, David. 902-405-6000 is the number. 1-877-801-8255. Some space news. The Crew 11 mission, NASA's Crew 11 mission on the International Space Station had to end their trip sooner than planned. They came back, I think, 4 months early. There was an issue with one of the astronauts, and they had to come home early. This is not something that is done on a regular basis, is it?
No, it's not. And so I actually haven't heard what the medical diagnosis is. I suspect that's being kept quiet because of personal privacy.
I think so. I've not seen any details on the specifics, but other to say that it required further testing on Earth.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing that's maybe surprising to people is that because of the nature of the crew system, that you couldn't just send one person back down because then that's taking the vehicle for one person, right? So you had to send the whole crew back down, and they'll do the rota from there on with a new crew going up. So, but this is a fairly significant thing. I can't honestly remember the last time we've actually had an emergency medical evacuation from the ISS.
Yeah.
So that's quite some time ago. I mean, there have been medical emergencies in space. I mean, the one that springs to mind, I mean, this wasn't terrible, but there was a Senator Garn, who went up on the space shuttle, who was part of an oversight committee for NASA, and somehow or another managed to wing a flight on the space shuttle. Right,
Wow.
that's a good gig if you can get it.
Seriously.
But Senator Jake Garn, and so he went up into space, and then he was literally sick in zero gravity for 4 or 5 days. And so now they measure the space sickness scale by the Garn scale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
imagine having that named after you.
yeah, so that's kind of there's a little bit of irony in so much as him being on this oversight committee. They were carefully monitoring NASA spending and so on. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few sort of jokes in NASA internally about that whole thing.
All right, it is 12:14. David, stick on the line there. We're going to get to your question in just a moment. We have room for others as well at 902-405-6000. If you have a science question for Dr. Rob Thacker, give us a call. Going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And the Science Files continues with Dr. Rob Thacker, astronomer at St. Mary's University, professor as well, and your science questions are welcome now at 902-405-6000. And Dave is joining us. Thanks, Dave, for staying on the line. What's your question?
Hello.
Hello, Dave. Hi, welcome to the show.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not. I wasn't online actually. It must be another David. There's a lot of Daves and Davids out there.
There are indeed. Yes. You've got a question.
I sure do. Yes. You're talking about creatures on the planet, or with animals and the intelligence of crows, say, and I think you were just talking about the cow situation. I was watching a podcast, Joe Rogan, and he has a lot of very good guests, right, scientists and what have you. So I know you can chuckle about that, but he is the number one podcast in the world, I think. So,
oh yeah.
Having said that, he had a guest on that ventured up the Amazon, and he caught a picture with the Amazonians. I guess it took them up in the canoes, way deep in the bowels of the jungle. And they took a photograph of a chimpanzee that was hanging from a branch over the river with a spear in its hand. And so it was looming over the river, obviously spearing fish. And the theory of this is that the primates, which are 98% of our DNA, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 99%. So not that far off of humans. And some people, there is some talk that they are evolving quicker than humans. But that 1%, I guess, separates us from remembering a coffee date, if we can, versus, a chimpanzee remembering anything too much. You could persuade them with a banana. But this thing was leaning over the river with a spear, a sharpened spear. Okay, it was actually, that was the thing that blew them away.
I'm asking questions about in my head. Right? Because it's one thing to there's plenty of footage of chimps using sticks and so on. So that's not a surprise. It's a question of how it would get something sharpened. Now, it could have found something that was dropped by a human, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the theory is that they've been watching the fishermen over the decades or centuries, right?
Oh, absolutely. We know that macaws can watch other macaws and learn from them. So it's not a surprise that chimps would be able to do that as well.
I think there's a reason why the saying goes, monkey see, monkey do.
Sure, and if you ever travel to Thailand, which is on my bucket list, but the monkeys that roam around there freely, right? They're very clever. They will steal your hat, and they'll bargain with you practically to get things back. Seriously, that's a fact, and they're very tribal. Let's face it, we are still tribal. I mean, we haven't learned to peace, and thought we were getting there, but unfortunately, we take a step back here and there. So really, we're still tribal human beings, right? So I just wonder, and just quickly, if I can keep you. That 3-Eye Atlas, we're all, my wife and everybody thought this was the second coming, and this thing was so freaky. It wasn't like any other comet like I had thought, it just ventured in. We don't know what comes from the bowels of the universe that travels around, and how the theories different. Even scientists were saying, this could be an alien thing. It could be something.
Well, one scientist.
No, but I've listened to a lot of scientists, and they want to believe. I think we are grasping as humans. We look up into the heavens, right? We always have.
No, I mean it's not unreasonable to say that there's probably other life out there. I mean, I think that's a reasonable hypothesis. But the idea that 3i Atlas is an alien spacecraft, that's got to be so low on the totem pole of explanations that you can't take it credibly.
Right. Okay, so here's what I have, and it's probably synthetic. If there is an alien probe or something, it's likely where we're sending robotics. We'll be hitting the Mars soon, I think, Musk, with robots, right? We're going to have robotics in our home in a matter of 6 months to a year. We're not that far away, so they'll land these things. But I think if something is sent because of the time, unless we can travel, I don't know, some insane way faster than light speed. These things are going to be synthetic. They're not going to be live, likely. I couldn't imagine. That's
probably a reasonable idea. And in fact, if you look at the things that we've sent out, like Voyager's Pioneers, those are all robotic things that are going out there to other star systems.
Now, it could be probing around, taking data like we do now around the planets. We're going to go around the moon, and our Skylab or our labs up there, space labs, are taking data. We don't know what they're collecting, but they're universal, right? We've got Russians up there. Isn't that wonderful? We got Russians, whatever, Canadians,
peaceful
Americans,
and
we all
space.
cooperate.
Yep.
It's wonderful. It's international, exactly, and we all work together. But we're collecting data out there, like that will help us figure out where we came from, maybe, and we're always searching for that, right?
So I mean, I pointed out that with 3i Atlas, that is a particular class of interstellar comet, and we now have the Rubin telescope that's working in Chile. And so over the next few years, we'll probably find a lot more of these.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, one more question to you.
Right,
let's say there is some alien life out there, right, that has the intelligence to been able to travel distances or whatever, probably more intelligent than us by far. Our DNA is 99%, or chimpanzee is. Let's say something has maybe 2 or 3% more DNA than we do. Let's say we're structurally evolved from, whatever out there. And let's say there is a species or a life form that is maybe 2 or 3 notches up from us when it comes to intelligence. That separation is massive, I would think. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're separated by a chimp by 1%, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
whatever is out there.
But I mean, remember, it doesn't have to be DNA, right? Yeah. I mean, you can have technological augmentation that gives you incredible capabilities as well.
Like AI attached to us, which we are becoming shortly. Yeah. Okay, thanks for taking my call.
All right,
folks.
Dave, listen, much appreciated. Thank you. 902-405-6000 is the number, and Steve is joining us now. Hey, Steve, thank you so much for waiting.
Thanks for taking my call. Doctor, I just had a question, sort of change the subject, but on Mark Carney, when he first became Prime Minister, even before he's voted in, he bought this over-the-horizon radar system from Australia, and I guess it cost him about $6 billion, but my question is, it's supposed to beam up to a satellite and then scan the ground, and they're supposed to be able to see Russian subs under the ice up north, and they're supposed to see everything with this over-the-horizon radar. I was just wondering what you knew about that. Thank you very much.
I don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, I know the principles of how it works. I mean, what you end up with is kind of a transmission channel with the radar being able to reflect off parts of the ionosphere. And then that will come back to the actual transmitter, and so you'll be able to get an idea of what's up there. I don't honestly know how accurate it is, but these systems have been around for quite some time. Right. And so the technology itself, I don't think there's really that much that's particularly new. It's a question of just building the big enough transmitters and receivers.
Right on. It cost $6 billion apparently, so I just thought it was high tech. Anyway, that's fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your call.
Have a good day.
All right. You take care. Yeah, interesting, because I saw this story as well about researchers have discovered, or they've unveiled, I should say, new imaging technology that does something that was once thought to be all but impossible. It creates ultra-sharp images without using traditional lenses at all. And the system relies on tiny sensors and advanced computer processing to reconstruct images with extraordinary detail. And so the researchers are saying that these implications could be wide-ranging for things like better medical imaging to more powerful telescopes and compact cameras. So, certainly as our technology is changing as far as telescopes go, our ability to see further what's out there is increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm curious to know how they're actually focusing the light, right? Because there is a question. I mean, there are different ways of focusing light. You can do it with the traditional sort of lens that we all know and love. But then you can use what's called diffractive optics, which actually use the diffraction process to focus the light. And so people have had ideas for building giant telescopes that do that, but no one's been able to make it practical. And they don't focus as well as a regular sort of lens will focus. But I'm curious. So there's all sorts of new what's called waveguide technology that allows you to literally change the direction of light in fractions of a wavelength. So it could be something like that as well. All of this stuff is like fairly new, and we're seeing some of it come through in camera optics. There are new coatings that have come out that are really, really low dispersion and create very sharp images. And so in fact, this is really incredible. In fact, one of the best telescopes for seeing very, very faint features is actually an array of 400 millimeter telephoto lenses.
Wow.
Right. It's called Dragonfly. It's run by colleague Bob Abraham at the University of Toronto and colleagues at Yale University as well. And they literally realized the optical quality of these 400 millimeter telephoto lenses was so good, it was better than the telescopes that we actually use to do observations.
Wow. And so, of course, with AI, is that going to sort of help accelerate our abilities with telescopes?
Absolutely. So AI is incredible in terms of what it can do in terms of the algorithms that you can create using it. And so you still need the theory. You still need to know what you want to do. That's the key thing with AI. People sort of think, well, you can just tell it to do miraculous things and it will go off and do it. It won't. It's relying upon stuff that's already been done.
Right.
But in terms of bringing things together very rapidly, it's exceptional at that, right? And that's where it's going to find applications. If no one's done it, it can't do it for you, right? Yeah. But if someone has done it before, yeah, absolutely, it's going to really help.
All right, 12:28 is the time. You're with the Science Files with Dr. Rob Thacker. Barry Steinar, please stay on the line. We'll get to your questions momentarily. Going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment.
Blackburn.
And welcome back. 12:35 and a little bit of snow action happening out there. Certainly didn't mention that when I was chatting with Alistair Alders earlier on today. But the Science Files with Dr. Rob Thacker continues. We're taking your questions at 902-405-6000 and just going to go to Barry. Thank you for waiting. Barry, what's your question?
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Thacker and Lisa. Hey. Thanks for taking my call. Just a couple of comments from previous shows. One was when you were discussing satellite orbits and such and being allocated, like airliners have been allocated flight levels since the 1940s. Mm-hmm. And my dad was a navigator during World War II, and they flew 120-mile lateral separation across the ocean. And now it's down to 30 miles.
Getting closer and closer.
Say again, please?
Closer and closer.
Yes, and it might even shrink, actually, due to traffic and the accuracy of GPS satellite navigation. But I'm calling about, I read the book written by Dr. Sarah Seeger, Smallest Lights in the Universe. And in there she talks about many things, but one I'd never heard about before was the green flash.
Oh.
At sunset.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering have you seen it or familiar with it? Is it safe?
Yeah. So, I mean, so reasonably. So obviously you shouldn't look at anything, the sun, with any kind of magnifying system or anything like that. But I've seen a green flash when I was in Hawaii out on a boat. Oh. And so they are quite rare, though, because you need to get just the right atmospheric conditions. As the sun goes down, what's happening is there's a little piece of the sun's limb, the very sort of edge of it, that will actually get slightly refracted by the Earth's atmosphere. It's acting a little bit like a lens, and then it will separate the colors. And one of the things you'll see is a tiny little bit of green for a very short period of time, literally a flash. Yeah.
Yes. She says it is quite brief, and she and her I guess boyfriend at the time had to coordinate their activities so one would tell the other when to look. Mm-hmm. So it was a very brief moment, apparently, as you suggest. And the other thing too is that the book actually is a very good book. Mm-hmm. Yep. She grew up in Toronto and ended up teaching at I guess MIT for a while, and now she's back to University of Toronto.
Exactly. Yeah, she's back at U of T. Yeah. So that's a big Canadian success story right there.
Yeah. But it's really interesting. She talks about her early childhood and how she got involved in astronomy. It's quite intriguing.
Yep.
So I appreciate your.
Sarah Seeger is an amazing astrophysicist, and not only does she do a lot of incredible work on the professional side, she's been really awesome in doing stuff for the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada as well. She's been invited to a number of their meetings and happily goes out and talks to and I don't want to discredit amateur astronomy at all. I think amateur astronomers do a really important job in terms of public awareness of astronomy. And so she's been a big part of going out and sort of interacting on a professional level with them.
Excellent.
Well, all right, Barry.
Thanks for your feedback. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. 902-405-6000. And mentioned a flash of green light. That reminded me, we had a little bit of northern light action last night in Canada?
So, there was a G4 geomagnetic storm forecast last night. And so I didn't see anything personally, although I was notified about it. So when you look at what's called the auroral oval, that's how far down it comes, right? The map showed that it really didn't look like it was going to come down quite far enough for us to see anything. And so, but the hard part with it is, there's quite a lot of guesswork in making these predictions because we don't actually know how strong the magnetic field is ahead of time. We only have a very rough estimate based upon the size of the eruption on the sun and so on. What really matters is the actual configuration of all the magnetic field when it hits the Earth and how that interacts. And funnily enough, we don't know that until it actually happens, right?
Wow.
So, but the main thing that we really do know, if we have had some kind of activity that sort of heated up the atmosphere a little bit, if we then have another piece of activity after that, then we can see some really incredible aurora. So if we get another event, who knows?
All right. It is 12:40, and we're taking your calls at 902-405-6000. This is the Science Files with Dr. Rob Thacker, and Steinar is on the line. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. I really enjoy this show, and I try to listen to it when I have a chance.
Okay, great.
But this thing about the cows and the animals and farm animals. I have to say, I grew up in Norway on a farm, and I was actually born during the war, and I know all about what it means when the food is lacking for people, and we were lucky to be on the farm. But the cows, I have to tell you a story. My mom had to go to hospital for a couple of weeks, and when she come back, and in the spring and summertime, we have the cows and the sheep and everything grazing in the mountainside, and there's a lot of mountainside in Norway. So this time when she came back, she was going, it is maybe about 700-800 meters. There was a barn where they used to milk them during the summer.
Yeah.
And when the cow's name was Dagros, then she heard my mom's voice. She came running. And I have never seen a cow cry, but the tears were running, and she had to walk with the head under my mom's arm.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And the experience we saw with horses and also with pigs that we had at the farm,
mm-hmm.
I completely understand the comments that was made earlier. And the animals can be wonderful, and I have personally experienced it.
Sure.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for that story, Starr. That's lovely. That's another example that perhaps these animals are far more aware than we have given them credit for.
In fact, there was a story about a horse we had. My dad had to go and go to sea fishing when and we were home looking after the farm. And the horse, when he came home on the bus from the nearest city, for example, for a weekend off, the horse knew when the bus passed that he was on the bus. I don't understand how they can, but you could hear the horse in the barn at that time. And my dad had to go and talk to the horse.
Yeah.
And it was so wonderful to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that story, Starr. Appreciate your call. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Tim and Jeff, stay on the line. We will get to you momentarily. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. 1247, -1 out there, and as quickly as it moved in, it's moved out, and we've got a peak of sunshine. Yeah, so that's always good to see. 405-6000, the number to call with your science questions this morning. He is Dr. Rob Thacker, and Tim is on the line. Thank you for holding, Tim.
Hey, guys. Just a question about the moon. It was probably, I don't know, maybe around 2.5 months ago. I know it was a Sunday morning, and it was around 10:30 in the morning, and you could look up in the sky, and the moon was just as bright as you could see it, just like you could see it in like a bright moon in the night. What were the conditions that made it be like that?
Oh, this is one of the amazing things about the moon. You've got to remember that the moon is up during the day as much as it's up during the night. Right? We tend to forget that. But as it goes around the Earth on its 28-day orbit, then it's going to be in positions when it's actually quite close to the sun, right? And when it gets really close to the sun, then you can't see very much because it's just, excuse me, it's dominated by the brightness of the sun. But as you get further and further away, then you'll see more and more of the moon during the daytime. So yeah, it literally is up just as much during the day as it is at nighttime. It's just that we only really notice it at nighttime when it's like a full moon or whatever, because it's so bright in those situations.
How often does that usually happen then?
Every month, right? Every orbit, it's literally happening. Yeah.
Every month, but I'm just not noticing it.
Exactly. I mean, now you will, though, I'm sure. Now you'll go out and you'll look for it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tim. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And Cheryl has given us a call. Good morning, Cheryl, or good afternoon.
Good morning. Happy New Year,
yes.
Dr. Rob.
And to you, Cheryl.
Yes. So I just got word that we're in the Prospect Road down at what we call Big Lake. It's on the way to Peggy's Cove. It's close to Peggy's Cove.
Mm-hmm.
They've proposed that they're going to be putting in a small stargazing park.
Ooh.
And it's a full-scale tourism resort. I don't know if you know anything about it. But
I do indeed.
Oh, you do? Were you consulted on that? Or
if it's the thing that I think it is, then this would be being pioneered by someone called John Reed.
Okay.
And so John is a former student at St. Mary's. He already has a little observatory down there already. And so he was looking to actually expand that. And one of the things that would be great is if we could have like a designated dark sky area around there as well. So I think, I mean, I might be wrong. There might be other people as well, but certainly John was talking about this.
Yes, and it involves like a 50-person planetarium, 50-person observatory, gift shop, museum.
Yeah, that sounds like John. John is an amazing entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I'm hearing pushback from people. I'm all for it, but about the dark sky requirement. You know, they want the traffic lights being removed, and they want people to have no bright lights during the time that they're stargazing. But you know, there's already, you know, people saying not in my community, but there's a lot of people for it, you know, like let's bring this in. We're kind of exciting, actually.
So I mean, I think with lighting, what we really want is what I'll call sensible lighting.
Okay.
Some people love to just basically have lights that shoot sideways and upwards. Whereas that's basically just wasted light. It's not lighting anything up. It's just going into the sky and it's not helping. Whereas if you have what's called full cutoff, so that actually is directing everything down, putting the light where you need it down, most of the time, those are actually much better fittings. And they don't dazzle people either. Like one of the problems with really bad lighting is you get dazzled by it. So there's a safety issue there as well. But I can understand why some people might be concerned. I get it. People do like to have lighting in back roads and so on. But most communities that I know who live outside are quite happy with the dark and appreciate the dark.
No, I'm excited by it. I'm like, there's a lot of people all for it, but it started a bit of a debate. And I'm like, you know, it's hard for businesses because this is a really, to me, a grandiose, exciting idea.
Yep. John has some big ideas for sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, I mean, and all credit to him because he's been at this for quite some time. He has a very popular YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of people follow that.
That's how
yep.
I remember.
No, John is awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've seen the YouTube channel. Now it's all coming together.
Yeah. It's called Learn to Stargaze, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going on that right now. This is exciting, Dr. Rob. Thank you so much. And it's even great that he studied under you or studied around where you're at.
Yeah,
you know?
He did. Yeah. And in fact, so the incredible story, just let me tell you the story. So John previously graduated from the Sobey School of Business and went and worked in California.
Okay.
And then when we had the robotic observatory set up, and that got on the top 10 list of Canadian Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
He was in California and he saw it on the news in California and said, I've always wanted to go and do astronomy. I'm going back to SMU to do my astronomy degree. And so he came back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so excited. I want this to succeed. So I'm going to be pushing for it. Believe me.
All right,
this
Cheryl.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a happy New Year.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Thank you for calling. 902-405-6000. Bob has found us there. Good afternoon, Bob, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. My question is, if I was to be standing on the moon for its 28-day cycle, would you, like on top of the moon, would you be able to see the Earth the whole time?
Well, other than when the Earth goes in front of the sun, but then you're just, depending upon where the moon is, that will just be something very bright to see. So that's only the real sort of like difficult challenge is when the Earth goes around in front of the sun, then there's not going to be any light other than reflected light from the moon lighting the Earth up. But otherwise, most of the rest of the time, as long as you're in a situation on the side that's facing the Earth, then yeah, you're going to be able to see it. Obviously, if you're on the other side, then no, you won't, because that's never coming back around to see the Earth.
Interesting. So it's always locked on one side. Like
you got it. It's what's called tidally locked. Yeah.
It's called what?
Tidally locked.
Tidally locked.
Yeah. So the mechanism that creates this locking is because the moon is in the tidal forces from the Earth, and so over a very, very long period of time, its rotation is actually locked to be exactly the same as the orbital period. So it is spinning around, but it's spinning around at exactly the same speed as it goes around the Earth. So you always only see one side of it.
So like when they say the dark side of the moon, is it always dark, or is
no, it's not,
is
right? So what you've got to remember is with the moon going around the Earth, basically all the sides of the moon get the same amount of light over a whole over a whole month, right? So that's the funny thing. Like the far side does get lit up.
It's just relative to us is why they say it's the dark side.
You got it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Appreciate your call. Speaking of the moon, we've got a 4-person crew of the Artemis 2 mission that are getting ready to blast off to the moon sometime in the early stages of this year, I understand.
Yeah, so the earliest they can go, my understanding, is February 6th. So Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian astronaut, will be on board. So that's a pretty big deal for the Canadian Space Agency and Jeremy. I happen to have met Jeremy a few times. Really great person, yeah. Has done an amazing job going out to schools for the Canadian Space Agency.
Oh, okay.
Right, so the whole astronaut program would very often send people around. So Jeremy came to SMU probably 7 or 8 years ago. Right.
All right. And what's his background?
So he's a fighter pilot.
Okay, so he was with the military then.
Yep. So he's military, and so there have been other astronauts who actually have an astronomy background as well. So David, I can't remember his surname, so who went up on the ISS. Mm-hmm. He actually worked at the Subaru telescope in Hawaii, then amazingly left astronomy and became a medical doctor.
Okay.
Right. So he's one of those persons
That's quite a path.
who can turn their skills to anything.
Yeah.
Right? And so ends up becoming an astronaut. So yeah, but Jeremy will be enjoying this, and it's going to be interesting to see how they feel about flying past the moon.
Yeah, I mean, this is 10 days in a space that's basically the size of 2 minivans. And they're not getting out at all. Like, I mean, they're not landing on the moon. This is just a drive-by.
And the toilet is just a privacy curtain.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So what is the spaceship? I mean, the Artemis 2, the actual, ship itself.
So they're in a, well, I mean, all of that rocket that you see, Artemis, most of that is really focused on getting the thing into orbit in the first place.
Right.
The actual rocket that's getting it to the moon is not particularly powerful once you're up in orbit.
Okay.
Right. And so they will have the Orion module, and then they have a piece behind that was manufactured by the European Space Agency that has the things like the engines and all of the other stuff that's taking them onto the moon. But you're right, it's a very small space.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to be cooped up in that for 10 days, as you say. And I believe it's going to be the farthest out that humanity has traveled from the Earth on that orbit that they're taking.
Oh, really?
So they literally swing past the moon, loop, and come back.
Okay. And what is it, do you know, that they're studying as part of this mission?
This is all about testing. Right.
Okay.
And so they've already sent Orion on one mission. That was Artemis 1. Artemis 2 is about putting people on it and making sure the systems work. That is the main thing they're going to be looking at in this particular mission. This is all about testing.
All right. Well, we'll have to leave it there for this week. Dr. Rob Thacker, professor and astronomer at St. Mary's University. Thank you so very much today.
Thank you. And a shout out to Clayton Park Medical Center. They really helped me out when I was very sick last week. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah, 12:58 is the time, and that will wrap up the show for today. The news with Blake Priddle coming up in just a moment. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. Thank you so much for making us part of your day. Thank you everyone who called, and to Vanessa Vandenes for keeping everything running smoothly behind the scenes. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. And let's do it all again tomorrow, shall we?
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350-plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.